Okay, this is the last video in your statistics course using Excel. Get you all trained up, ready for your controlled assessment. The last one that we're going to look at is making a cumulative frequency chart and a histogram in one. Okay, so everything we've looked at before, but just how we put two charts into one, basically. So we've got our data over here, our house prices for Manchester. I've made this table here for a second. We're going to populate that shortly. First thing I need to do is create a frequency table, pivot table, for the house prices. So I'm going to click over in my data set, we've done before, insert pivot table, and just pick the range up. See, it's picked it up for me there. So I'm going to place it in this existing worksheet, and I'm going to pop it into here. Click OK, and I'm going to click OK on that. So we've got that there. Okay. First thing we need to do then is pop our row fields into here. So let's pop price over into there. It's slightly different for yours, so you can drag and drop down onto those there. And I'm going to group by group it into house categories, house price categories here. I'm going to start at 0 this time, and I'm going to end at 900,000 because I'm doing a cumulative frequency in there, so I want to have the 0 in there. And I pop the price down into values here, and we've got that there. Unfortunately, it looks like it's wiped my pre-prepared table somehow, so I'll type that out again in this tutorial. It's unfortunate. So anyway, we've got this here, and we're going to copy that into a different table. So what I want is, we just had, and you can see I've got my house price that's been there. I want the frequency, how many of them are in the category, and I want the percentage frequency, so percentage frequency there, and I want the cumulative frequency, and I want the percentage cumulative frequency as well. So I'm going to pop that there. Percentage cumulative frequency. Just going to make a border for this because it's a little bit easier. I'm going to change the font. Okay, so the pivot tables here, all I need to do is basically copy and paste that there, so I can place that into the over here in this table. Okay, it's easier if you take data out of them sometimes. Okay, so just paste them as values in there. Okay, so you've got those in there. Again, I don't really like the not dash part here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to go up to find and select on the home ribbon and replace, and because I've done this before, it's still there, so I've got replace the dash with space up, space 2. Replace all. There we go. That's done that quickly for us in there. Okay. So I just want to add up all of these here. So to add them all up, I'm going to go there. So we've got 40 here because it'll be useful for doing the percentage with in a second. So over here now we're going to work out the percentage. So it equals that divided by the total, which is in there. Remember, because we don't want that. If I want to fill down, I need to lock that cell in, because if we fill down and it's relative, it's going to move down to these cells, which are blank. So you can just highlight that, push F4. Okay, and there's it comes up as a decimal first, so all we need to do is highlight those, make them a percentage, and we can double click on that, and there you go. Okay, if I drag that across, it should add up to 100 if it's all correct, or 1 if I need to change that to percentage. There you go. Okay, so now we need to do cumulative frequency, and there's a way of doing this with a sort of a little workaround with the formula in this part here. So I'm just going to show you this. I'm just going to look a bit strange to the start, so I'm going to say equals sum of that to that, which doesn't make much sense because it's the same number. But if I lock the first one in, okay, with the $sign, so I've just double clicked over that and I'm pushing F4 here. I'm think I've got this right, and there you go. There's the cumulative frequency. Ignore these tabs that come up on here. Okay, so that's right. It should always end up on 40 for us. Always at the last one, the total, those should always match in there. So percentage, same again. We can use either one. So we can say equals that divided by, we could use this one now this time, or we could still use that one, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to click on that one. Need to lock it in, F4. So I've selected it, and now I'm pushing F4 on the keyboard, and it's locked in. And I should be able to double click here or do a drag down there, and I want that to be percentages. So now I've got my table sorted. So I've made a pivot table to place these into their categories, and I've got those in there now. Now I just need to I'm going to get rid of these green arrows. You can highlight them all. This should pop up there, and ignore the error there. There is no error. Okay, so now I'm going to make a histogram and cumulative frequency chart. So how do we go about doing this? Well, we need to select our data first. The data that we want on it is the frequency and the percentage of cumulative frequency over here. That's the ones I've decided I'm going to use. Okay, so I'm going to highlight those, but if I try and highlight that over there, I lose the highlight here. Some of you may know that to avoid that, you hold down the control key on the keyboard and highlight here, and you get what you want. Okay, insert, and we're just going to start off with a normal chart like so. Okay, let's get this in the right place. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, just so we got some nice space to work in. First job, I want to get rid of those there. Chart junk, don't want it. Okay, we've only got one axis at the moment. Okay. And the reason what's going on here, if you can see, is it's picked the numbers, it's picked the frequency to highlight, but there's no percentages on here. So that's why that's so small down there, because it's in percentage terms. So we need to make some alterations to this. Okay, so if you click on this particular axis here and then hit Control 1, you should get a format data series come up for you. Okay, if you click on secondary access, you'll now see you've got the percentages here. We're still not quite right in what we want, but we're kind of getting there at the moment, and that's fine for this stage. We've got our secondary access, we've got our percentages, and we've got our numbers over here. We just want to change our cumulative frequency, which is our percentages, the red series here, to a line chart. Now it's important you select the right bits here. If you notice, you click on there, all of those red series will highlight. You can right click and you should have change series chart type. Now mine's going to look slightly different. Don't worry, you will have the option to change. It looks a little bit simpler than this, to be fair, but I'm going to change down in here percentage cumulative frequency to a line chart with markers. There it is, look. Yours will look different, it'll be more up in the top up here, but just pick a line chart and you should be fine on the secondary axis there. Okay, so there you go. There is these. Now we wanted a histogram, so if you remember previously, we need to get rid of the gaps on this. So we're going to go to this one here. If you've lost the format data series over here, you can click on that, push Control 1, it'll pop up. You can also do a right click over the data series and you can do format data series and it'll pop up over here. You should have this three options here: the fill color, the polygon, and the chart option. The gap width we want to reduce down here to 0, and we've got histogram there. I don't like the fact that it's got no border, so I'm going to border it with a color, so there should be a solid line around those now. So we've got them there. You can then click over the series and add data labels. Quite like doing that. And then again add data labels on here. Sometimes when if they're a little bit over that, you can move them down and they will get it right here. It doesn't seem to want to move. Don't really know why at the moment, being a bit thing. It usually does work that when you move those. But anyway, you can shift those around. Should work. Probably if I closed it and opened it, it would work again. So we've got those data labels on there. So the only thing we need a chart title. So this is our frequency of house prices on there. Okay, that's a chart title. Only thing that we're missing is labels. Now for you, when you click on a chart on Excel 2010, it's up in here. There's a layout tab that's not here in this one. You click layout tab, it says add axis titles. On the newer ones, it's on this plus button here. So I'm going to put axis titles on. You notice it a little bit squashed, so I'm just going to reduce this part here in. So I've got some space either side there. So that's our, so this axis title there is our percentage cumulative frequency there. Over this side is just the frequency. And down here we've got, click in there, we've got house price. Get it right now. House price in pounds, in sterling. Oops, get a bracket, not 9. In sterling for you there. And you can obviously make these bigger if you want these to fit a little bit better and do other things and move bits and bobs about. I'm still not quite sure why that is frozen on there. Normally does work and a little line pops through. I'm sure it'll be fine when you show yours. And so there you go. You've got a cumulative frequency diagram and a histogram in one. Okay, so all of this stuff you've learned in this course as you've worked your way through this Excel book, watching these tutorials, you now need to transfer some of it, most of it, all of it, whatever you can manage into your assignment when you come to doing it, okay? You will be looking at house prices, you may be looking at rental prices. Everything applies the same. You'll just have a data set that you've collected from and have decided when you're investigating what house prices cost. You could investigate car prices, all sorts of stuff that you could do for purchasing cars. The thing with this course is you should decide what you're going to investigate. But please remember, we are marking skills. If you can show the skills developed in this course in your own work, okay, with your own style put on it, you will be getting high marks in the digital literacy and in the numeracy element of this challenge.